All right, we're going live here tonight. Wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about my trip to Japan. And so I'm just checking my audio, making sure everything is working tonight. All right. So this is my first video since my trip to Japan. And want to talk to you guys a little bit about the trip in case you guys are interested in making a trip yourself to Japan. So I'll talk a little bit about how to get around Tokyo. I'll talk a little bit about the record stores that I went to, the shows that I saw, all the great musicians that I met. It was a really good trip. So if you guys want to comment or leave your comments in the chat, and I'll respond to your questions if you have any. I have a lot of reviews to do. I bought a lot of records when I was in Tokyo, and I haven't even had a chance to listen to them. I've been so busy. And also getting back on track from the 15-hour difference from where I am to Tokyo. So going that direction wasn't so bad adjusting to the time, I think, because you're so excited. You get over there, it's 15 hours ahead. You sleep a little bit on the plane. And it's a little bit easier to adjust, I think, going that direction. Coming back this direction has been kind of tough. It's taken me like all week to get back on track. I've been waking up at like 1 a.m. and couldn't go back to sleep. And so it's taken a little bit of time to get over that jet lag. I want to talk a little bit also about some of the upcoming reviews I'll have coming, and also a new announcement for the channel. I want to talk a little bit about that. Yamamoto gig. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was a really wonderful opportunity to see a legend, Tsuyoshi Yamamoto. So, yeah, I'll talk about that. The shows that the wonderful musicians I had an opportunity to see. I do want to talk a little bit about, if you're interested in going to Tokyo, the getting around the city a little bit. I'm going to talk about that, which I found to be very easy, actually, with the phone. The phone, very indispensable. This right here is very important in getting around the city, because you can put in the address. I made a big list of all the record stores, all the jazz clubs, the jazz kisas, and I made a list of all of them along with the actual address that I got off Google. And I had that where I could cut and paste it into the Google Maps on there, because a lot of times I would paste the name in and the right address would not come up on the Google Maps when I put the name in. And a couple of times I got sidetracked. So I started doing the address, actually pasting the address into the Google Maps. And that would get me right to where I was going. So I would recommend that. Using the Google Maps tells you what line to get on, what train to get on, what track to get on, where to get off at the next station, and then where to get on to get to the next stop. That's all very easy to get around. The transit system is almost flawless. When it says the train's going to be there at 5:58, it's there at 5:58. It's very easy to navigate when you get on the train. Most of them in Tokyo have a little screen that tells you where you're going. It has it in Japanese and it has it in English, so you know what station to look for to get off on, to get on your next train or what have you. And it even gives you the exits of the different stations to get off of, so that you can be closer to your destination when you come out of the station. So very, I think, well organized transit system. It's always on time. If it's not on time, it'll tell you that it's going to be late. And I really had no problems getting around the city. And my hotel was like 7 minutes from the nearest station. So I just had to walk 7 minutes, get on the train, and then pretty much had access to the entire city. And I would also recommend getting the Suica app, which I used a lot. On the phone, you download the Suica app. You can add your credit card. I had a travel card that I added to my wallet, and then I could just load that up with like 5,000 yen, which is like, I don't know, maybe like 30 something bucks. And I think I went through about, in the entire 2 weeks, I went through like 50 something bucks, 60 bucks maybe, in the trains, because I rode the train every day going to different parts of the city, to different record stores. So very easy to get around. The Suica app, I found it to be very easy to use. There's another app you can get as well, but for some reason my wallet would not load money onto the other app, but the Suica app, it seemed to work fine. You can also pay with the Suica app at different restaurants too, which I think I did once. And Apple Pay is really big over in Tokyo. So I would say I only used about $200 cash the entire 2 weeks I was there. The rest of it was Apple Pay off the phone or a credit card. So that was my experience. Most of the restaurants took the Apple Pay or a credit card, and that was the way to pay. There were a few places that I went, like over at the fish market. A couple of places there I had to pay with cash. There were certain places that you had to pay with cash, but that was more a rarity than it was, common. So as far as let's talk about the record stores first, and then I'll go into the jazz clubs and jazz kisas. Record stores are absolutely overwhelming. Tower Records, Shibuya, it's like 8 floors, and I went to like 3 floors that the music I was interested in, because I wasn't interested in K-pop or all that kind of stuff. But one entire floor of vinyl records, new and used vinyl records, and that's where I got a lot of the records I'm going to show you today. The new Japanese pressings, the new releases, that kind of thing I was interested in. Tower Records had a lot of that stuff, as well as Disc Union. They had a lot of the new stuff. There was a Disc Union jazz store that I recommend going to that was nothing but jazz, which was my focus on this trip. Although I did buy a couple of things that were not jazz, like 90% of the stuff I bought was jazz, which is what I primarily listen to nowadays. So I do recommend the Tower Records in Shibuya. There's another location in Shinjuku, which is also a pretty big store, but not as big as the one in Shibuya. The Disc Union has record stores all over the city. There's all kinds of different locations. There's like one that's like 5 floors or 6 floors that has like progressive rock on one floor, classic rock on another floor, jazz on another floor, and they have just everything you can imagine. And the prices on used records I found to be very fair over there in Tokyo. So I did end up buying more used jazz records than I thought I was going to buy. And also I bought more CDs than I thought I was going to buy, because a lot of the used jazz CDs were fairly priced. And some of them were pretty cheap, and some of them you don't see that much in the US. So I probably bought 30 CDs and about 30 vinyl records, and I packed for that. So I took a clamshell carry-on case empty with me, and a personal item. I took those on the plane, and then I checked my big bag with all of my clothes in it. And then when I got there, I kind of gauged how much I was buying to what would fit on that carry-on case. And so all my vinyl records I packed into that carry-on case, with about half the CDs I bought, and the other half the CDs went into the big luggage bag that I checked. So I would recommend using an app if you travel to Tokyo, to Japan. There's an app you can use. You go on their website. I think it's like visitjapan.com or something like that. You upload your passport and you fill out all the information. I think you take a picture of your passport, upload it on there. When you get to Tokyo, it's a breeze going through, going through customs or whatever, going through and checking in. You basically walk in, you have a little QR code on your phone, You scan it, you walk up, they scan, they take a picture of you, and then you go right through. It's like literally, it took me 5 minutes to go through when I got to Tokyo. And also coming back, hardly anybody did this coming back into the US. I do recommend downloading the MPC app. It's CBP MPC. I don't know if you can see that, but this app is indispensable. It took me 5 minutes to go through customs in Chicago O'Hare Airport. So I had the MPC. It's kind of the same thing. You scan your passport into that app. You fill out whether or not you're declaring anything. I put on there, records or whatever. And then when I got to the airport, I simply looked for the line that said MPC, and I went right through, and there was like 5 people in line, and it was like 5 minutes. I walked through. They asked me what I was declaring. I said I bought a bunch of records and CDs. The guy stamped my paperwork. I went through, got my bags, went back through, gave him my paperwork, and I was through. It was literally like 5 minutes. So everybody else was back in a line. They probably waited 30 minutes to get through at least, because there was a big line of people. But since I used the app, definitely worthwhile doing. So just wanted to give you guys a couple of tips in case you are traveling, and maybe some shortcuts that'll save you some time at the airport. So back to the record stores. I went to about 15 different record stores. The Disc Union Jazz store I went to twice. The jazz store, and it's just one big floor jazz store. And I think on the one side they've got rhythm and blues on the other side. But it's one floor of jazz, all used and new records and new used CDs. And I went there twice to that record store, and I spent probably a good 2.5 hours both times going through everything, looking at all the used records, all the new records, all the CDs. And I bought a lot of stuff from that jazz Disc Union store. Then I went to Tower Records twice as well. The first trip, I bought a lot of new records. So I bought like some Three Blind Mice. Like I bought the Caterpillar album here. This is the Mixer's Lab version. So on the Three Blind Mice records, you have the Grunman Masters, Bernie Grunman, and then you have the Mixer's Lab. I think the Bernie Grunman ones were the first ones to come out, which sound fantastic. I have not had a chance to listen to this one yet. This is a Mixer's Lab version, but they're supposed to be very good. These are done in Japan, and the guys they have doing the mastering and cutting the lacquers and stuff for these is supposed to be fantastic with the Mixer's Lab as well. So I'll be reviewing this, and I'll let you guys know how this sounds. But I bought this, I think, at the Tower Records. Three Blind Mice. I found the other Kiyoshi Kitagawa album, which I reviewed the first one on this channel. Actually, I think the other one's the second one. This is an earlier record. I picked this one up. As far as the prices of the albums, the new albums, they're about the same, but of course you don't have the shipping charge that you ordinarily have to pay from Japan. So I wanted to pick up as many as I could of the new releases. I picked up the Akira Kurosawa, this album here. I picked this one up, which I haven't had a chance to even listen to any of these again. I got back to work. I got in on midnight on Friday, off the plane midnight. I couldn't sleep, over the weekend, and I went right to work on Monday, and it's just kind of been a long week, and that's why I haven't really done any reviews this week. I'll be getting back onto these next week doing reviews. But this one I picked up, which I really wanted to get. I picked up a Takio Moriyama album, Green River, which I've been wanting to get a hold of. He's one of my favorite drummers. This guy's just a monster on the drums. But this was one of the albums I wanted to pick up, so I picked this one up. I think I picked this one up at one of the Disc Unions. I picked up the Banksia Trio here. The album's called Masks. This is kind of more of a modern jazz album. And the drummer on here, Shun Ishiwaka, is just another monster, young guy on the drums. And I bought several different CDs also of this band with him. But this is a nice modern album. I'll be reviewing this one here soon. I also bought a Three Blind Mice this Hidefumi Toki Quartet. This is another Three Blind Mice, and you can see this is the Bernie Grunman master here. So I've been wanting to add this one to my collection for a while. So this one I got at Tower Records. You can see the label there. This is one of the ones I picked up. So I picked up quite a few at Tower Records just because I had such a good selection of the new releases. I picked up also the Makoto Ozone No Name Horses, which is kind of a big band thing. This new release that just came out. So I was excited about finding this one. There's day one here, and I think there's going to be one called day two that's going to be coming out later in the year. But and again, I just haven't had. I'll be reviewing this on the channel for you guys. I just have not had a chance to even listen to any of these. So I did pick up some Tsuyoshi Yamamoto, who I had the opportunity to see there at Club Alfie, which is a wonderful club there to see shows. It's a small place, but no matter where you sit, I was sitting at the bar and I can see fine. And there's some seating up around the top there where you can look down, which I thought that was kind of cool. I would have liked to have had those seats rather than the one that I had, but it's just an intimate club. And Tsuyoshi Yamamoto is a legend. He's been playing since the early 70s. And this album is hard to get here in the US. So this is one of the ones I added to my collection. It's called Speak Low. And these were quite expensive. I think these were like 8,000 yen. So almost 9,000 yen. So 1,000 yen's roughly like $6.50 something cents, something like that. So you round it off. One thing I will tell you, like at Tower Records, if you buy records there, if you spend more than 5,000 yen, you don't pay tax. And so you want to be aware of that. So if you buy a bunch of records there, you pay for them, and then you go to another counter and you give them your receipt, you show them your passport, and then they will refund you in cash for the amount of tax, which I think is around 8 or 9%. So, I spent like 300 and some odd bucks the first time I was in there. And then I went over and they gave me, the money in cash. So I got, I don't know how much it was, 30 bucks or something like that in cash. So this was a pretty cool album I picked up. I found it difficult to get here. On eBay, you can find some of them. Then I got this one here, which is also kind of hard to find, with a Wonderful World, Tsuyoshi Yamamoto Trio. Really cool swinging record, again, straight ahead jazz. But this one's not that easy to find either. And this is a double record set. So I picked this one up. I was really happy to grab this. And this was another Tower record. And they had a big section over that had some discounts. This one was 20% off because the wrapper was opened. Other than that, there was nothing wrong with it. So it was 20% less than what it would have cost me. And they had a lot of different things over there at the 20% off section. There was like 20%, 30%, 40% in boxes. And again, it's one of those things where you can get sidetracked. So I just looked for jazz titles over there. This was really the only one that I found. There was a lot of rock music and stuff like that in those boxes, but I didn't want to get sidetracked. And it's very easy to get sidetracked in those record stores. So if you are going to buy a lot of different genres, you're probably going to have a hard time trying to decide what you want to get, because it's just record overload. So I did pick up the new Three Blind Mice release, which is supposed to be a really cool album. I have not heard this yet. It's called Orpheus. It's a reissue. This is a Mixer's Lab reissue. This just came out when I was over there, so I picked this up. This was like 5,000 yen, and I have not listened to this yet. I just read the reviews on it, and it looked like it was really good. It's supposed to be kind of like a modern avant-garde type of thing. So I picked this one up. Let's see what else I got. I've also picked up quite a few used albums. So I wasn't planning on buying a lot of them, but again, there were such good prices on a lot of these that I kind of couldn't resist. So let me bring some of those and show you. Okay. So, and some of these I didn't really know what I was buying. I kind of got enamored by some of the different things that I saw, and just like some of the covers I saw, I bought that. Some of them were like $5, and so I picked up some used records, like this guy here, or this pianist here. The album's Bacchus String by Yuzuru Sarah, and I just looked at some of the tunes on the back, which is kind of like Misty Shiny Stockings, Softly as in a Morning Sunrise. It was like this is like $4 or $5, and the vinyl is almost like new. It's in really good shape. So it's a couple of these things I couldn't resist buying and adding to the collection. Let's see. I got this Yoki Tamura Jazz Prestige record here that looked interesting. Again, this was just a few bucks. And again, it was one of those things like Take the A Train on here, Blue Bossa on Green Dolphin Street. And it just looked like, hey, something kind of cool to pick up. Not only that, the lineup on here, this Yuko Tamura on piano is supposed to be a really excellent pianist, and Frank Gant on drums. And I don't know who the bass player Andrew Simpkins is, but anyway, looked like an interesting record. Since I'm a big Takeo Moriyama fan, I did pick up a couple of the Yasuki Yamashita Trio albums, because that is the band that he started playing with before he did his own solo work. So, and he continued to play with this band for a while. And so this has Yasuki Yamashita on piano, Akira Sakata on the alto, and Takeo Moriyama on the drums. And this is supposed to be a killer album. Again, I have not listened to this. So some of these I kind of bought blindly. This was pretty inexpensive. I think there's like $7 or $8. So, and of course, with these OB strips, it always makes these records kind of shiny. They're, for some reason, those OB strips always make them interesting looking. I bought another one of the Yamashita Trio albums here as well. And of course, it's got Takeo Moriyama on this as well. So that was another one I wanted to get. When it came to like American jazz, I wasn't initially going to buy a lot of American jazz. But when I started seeing some records that I was interested in, and the prices for the used records, again, were pretty fair, I picked up some. So let me show you some of those. I got like this album here I bought because I was in the Jazz Kisa called the Eagle Jazz Kisa in Tokyo, and they were playing this album. And to be honest, I'd never heard this album before, J.R. Monteros, The Message. And so they were playing this in there. I went in there and I had some food and had a beer and coffee. I was in there, and they played this album, and I was like, man, this is a really good album. They put they actually played they were playing a CD at that time in there. And I heard this. And so when I was in the record store the next time and I saw it used, I picked it up, and this is like in excellent shape. And I played it the other day when I was making dinner, and this is just a really cool swinging album. So, yeah, I couldn't resist getting that. Another guy I really like that's not easy to find in the U.S. is Tubby Hayes Quintet. And so this album I've been wanting to get, the Ronnie Scott's. I've been wanting to get this recorded live at Ronnie Scott's at London, and they had this, a couple of copies of this, and this one was in really nice shape. And, it was like maybe 15 or 20 bucks maybe. So I picked this up because I've been looking for it, and it was always expensive, or I had to pay the shipping. And so this was something I wanted to get. So I'm excited about that. I listened to this one the other night, and I had no idea. I'd never heard it, but it was only like $3.50 or $4. Get Out of Town by the Jack Sheldon Quartet. And I was listening to this the other night, and this is a really cool swinging album. I'd never heard it before. But again, it was one of those, the cover kind of caught my attention. And so I was like, for $4, I'm going to grab it. It looks like it's in really good shape, brand new. And, it just looked interesting. And I played it the other night, and it's a really cool record. So for $4, stuff like that, it's kind of hard to resist. This Art Farmer record I've been looking for a little while, To Duke with Love. This was a Vladimir Shafronov recommendation that he said was a really good album. So this was another $5 record or $6 record, something like that. And you've got Art Farmer on here with the great Cedar Walton on piano, Sam Jones on bass, fantastic, and Billy Higgins on the drums. So this is one of those that, again, I couldn't pass up. I found an Eric Alexander on the Venus label, which I've been wanting to get for a while, called Blues at Midnight. And if you guys don't know about the Venus records, they sound really fantastic. They have their own unique sound, a very, very kind of, I don't know how to describe it, a really kind of, I don't know how it has a really unique sounding top end on these. I don't know how else to describe it, but they sound really good. He gets these pressed in Tokyo. I met him when I went into the studio with Vladimir Shafranov. I had the opportunity to go in and watch him record direct to disc at King Record Studios in Tokyo. And so the owner of Venus Records was there, and his name is Tetsuo Hara, and I think it was his daughter that was there. I'm not exactly sure, but I was talking to her because she spoke English, and she was telling me where they got their records cut at in Tokyo. It's one of the oldest, I think, record plants that has been pressing since the 50s. And in Japan, they didn't stop pressing at this particular plant. It's been pressing the whole time, because in Japan, even when they had the downturn in vinyl records, theirs wasn't as significant of a downturn as it was in the US. People still continue to buy vinyl records over in Japan a bit more. And so some of the record plants like that one in Tokyo continue to press records. And so apparently they're very, very high quality. All the ones that I've gotten on the Venus seem to be good pressings. So this one I picked up with Eric Alexander, who's one of my favorite straight ahead jazz saxophonists. So I had to pick this up. And these are quite expensive. These Venus ones seem to be, this one was 5,000 yen. So about what, 30 something bucks. So not too bad, I guess. I picked up an Art Blakey album, which I didn't have this volume 3 at Club Saint Germain. And again, this was like $5 and it was in good shape. Doesn't have the OB strip, but you know, for the price, I went ahead and grabbed it because I don't see this around too much where I live. So I picked this one up. I picked up a Sonny Stitt album. Again, I wasn't planning on picking these up, but they were really well priced. Like this one doesn't have the OB strip, but this was a Stitt Plays Bird. And this was like, you know, $6 or $7. And I didn't have this one. And I love Sonny Stitt. So this was another one I wanted to get. I got Barry Harris at the Jazz Workshop, recorded with Sam Jones and Louis Hayes on the Riverside. Again, it was like $6, $7. These are all, you know, very fair priced and in very good shape. The vinyls are in very good shape. Now, I will say something. Their grading is a little bit different there on the records. I went with anything for the media B+ and above. That's me. And usually if you go with B+ and above, it's like a very good plus record. So all the records that I've had so far, the couple that I've played so far have been almost like brand new. So I picked up Tommy Flanagan Trio, of course, just an amazing pianist. I picked this one up, one of his most famous albums, Trio Overseas. And this was another one that I picked up. And of course, a Japanese pressing here with the OB strip. This was like, I don't know, $12 or something like that, maybe. So I picked that up. Let's see what else we got. I picked up, let's see, let me pull these up. I picked up an Anita. I'm a big Anita O'Day fan. I love her vocals, and I didn't have this one here, Anita O'Day Tonight. So I picked this one up when I was over there. I picked up one Steps Smoking at the Pit, which I've never seen this album before. Maybe you guys have. But this right here, Steve Gadd, Michael Brecker, Eddie Gomez. And this is a gatefold 2 LP record, like $7 or $8. So I picked this up. I've never heard it. I have no idea what it's going to sound like, but it was just one of those ones that I wanted to pick up. It was recorded at the Pit Inn there, which I went to and saw a show there at the Pit Inn. which I saw a smoking straight ahead bop band. I'll talk about them in a minute. I also picked up this Sonny Rollins, which I did not have this on vinyl. This Prestige Work Time album, which this one was maybe $15, $16. And I didn't have this one, and it was in really good shape. So I'm a big Sonny Rollins fan. I have probably maybe 40 titles of his. And so this was one of the ones I didn't have. So this was a really good addition to the collection. Also, Frank Morgan, I picked this up. I like Frank Morgan. He's not as well known of a sax player as perhaps a lot of others, but I like him. And I had never heard this album. It was just one of those shiny things that caught my attention with the OB strip. And I was like, oh, I like the cover and I like his playing. I've never heard this record, but again, this was like a $5 record. So I picked it up. So I think that's, for the most part, all the vinyl records. I do want to talk about some of the CDs I picked up. Again, I still collect CDs as well. And there's a lot of great records that aren't available on vinyl. And so I don't like to deprive myself. I will still buy a CD. And I really like the sound of some of the SA CDs as well. But I'm just going to hit on a few that I bought because I got like 30 here. But I saw this drummer here at his band, Yoichi Kobayashi, at the Pit Inn, and this guy smokes. What a great drummer. I've never heard of him before, and I was just so impressed. It was an afternoon show at the Pit Inn. A lot of times they have an afternoon show and an evening show, and really cool club to see a show. There's not a bad seat in there, and these guys just smoked. They were fantastic. So this CD here they had on sale. I thought this is kind of cool because you've got on this particular CD, Eric Alexander's on here and Vincent Herring and some other guys make a great lineup. But again, straight ahead bop. These guys kind of played some Charlie Parker kind of stuff all the way to Art Blakey stuff. These guys were just fantastic. I did get an autograph from Tsuyoshi Yamamoto at the Alfie when I saw him. And so I got him to sign there, the front of that. So I thought that was kind of cool. This is a Three Blind Mice title from 1974. So I asked him, I said, do you remember this when you recorded this? He's like, oh, yes, I remember that. I remember playing that very well. So that was kind of cool. I picked up the Kosuke Mine's second album, SACD. I picked this up. It was one of those things where I saw it and it was on sale, I think. So I grabbed it and we'll see how this sounds. I'll probably review this one. I know a lot of you guys that watch the channel like the SACDs. And so I'll review this for you guys. I also picked up, I wanted to get this on vinyl. They're completely sold out. This Shinsuke Fujita group. This guy's supposed to be fantastic. I've heard a couple of tracks off of this. It sounds very good. And it's a really cool lineup. This guy plays tenor, soprano, sax, flute, bamboo, clarinet. There's a pianist on here, a violin player, bass player, percussion, and drums. So it's a really cool, modern sounding jazz record. This was available on vinyl. I don't know if they're going to be available again. So I will say that I made a contact when I was at the show seeing Tsuyoshi Yamamoto. His producer was there, and so I got to talk to her. She spoke pretty good English. She put me in touch with Disc Union because I told her I wanted to import some of Tsuyoshi Yamamoto's albums and sell them because, as you guys know, I distribute for Bird Box Records out of Italy. And so those are fantastic high-end audiophile records that I import in and I sell. And I appreciate you guys supporting that record label. That's primarily what I'll continue to import. But I wanted to see if I can make a connection in Japan to bring in some of the J-Jazz, the Japanese jazz records. And so I was able to make contact with Disc Union, and I'm making my first order here in the next week or so. And those will be coming in next month. So I'll have some of those Japanese jazz records available on my website, which you can find on the links below when I publish this. And you guys will be able to purchase. I'm only going to carry a small amount 2 or 3 copies of different albums that I review on the channel so that you guys will be able to purchase them. The few of you that want to purchase them will be able to get them from me to make it easier, because a lot of times, again, you have to go on eBay or something like that and then pay the shipping. And so I'm going to try to import like 20 at a time and have those available for you guys. And then I'll just try to every so often make an order from Disc Union. And then hopefully this will be available again on vinyl. And if it is, I'm going to buy some copies of this. So we'll find out. I got some modern jazz records on CD. Again, that drummer that I was talking about, that Shun Ishikawa, this is a live CD of him. And so I picked this up. I was excited about that. Here's another one that actually the owner of the Alfie club gave this to me, which I thought was very nice of them. I saw 2 shows there. And she was nice enough to give me this copy of a live at Alfie of the Shun Ishikawa trio. So that's really cool. I'm looking forward to listening to that. I picked this up too, which also has him on there live at Shinjuku Pit Inn. That's a really cool club. I spoke about that earlier. Shinjuku's a little, there's sections of Shinjuku that's a little shady, so you kind of want to watch yourself there. I really never felt at any place, at any of the cities, or I say cities, in any of the different districts in Tokyo, I never felt like I was in danger at all anywhere. No matter where I went, and I went all over the city. Of course, I probably only saw a very small part of it, but I went to a lot of different places, record stores and jazz clubs and jazz cafes, and I never felt like I was in danger anywhere, which was very, very cool. But Shinjuku was one of the places that was kind of a little shady. I had one guy pop out of this little guy pop out of the side, and he kind of startled me for a second. He was showing me some weird stuff on a phone. Like, I was like, no, leave me alone. But that's really the only thing that happened to me the entire time that I felt kind of uncomfortable. Okay, Lawrence, you say you just bought the Sensuke Fujita group on CD. Yeah, sounds okay. Yeah. I'm looking forward to listening to that. And again, I want to try to get that on vinyl. So we'll see if those come back available. I checked everywhere. I checked Tower Records. I checked Disc Union, every place I went in, and they all said that they were sold out of that on vinyl. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. I picked up this on CD, which I've been wanting to get. I've had this on my wish list. Again, this is that Shun Ishikawa. This is one called the Banksia Trio. Again, modern jazz, very intense. This album was also another one I've been wanting to get of his. This is a brand new release on this Days of Delight label, which they have some really cool stuff. Go on there. You can go on the YouTube channel and sign up, and they put out different videos of their different artists. And I find them to be pretty cool, very modern sounding jazz if you're into that. But this also is going to be coming out on vinyl. So I'm going to try to see if I can get a hold of those. Unfortunately, I don't think Disc Union distributes for this company. So I'm going to have to try to contact them directly. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know how easy that's going to be. I will say, when it comes to them speaking English in Tokyo, not so good. So, and it depends on where you go. Some of the, like in Shibuya and some of the stores, they speak a little bit more English. There are some information centers that they speak English well. When you go in there, if you have questions on how to find things, they're very helpful. But like at my hotel, they didn't speak hardly any English. I had to use my phone, type in the phone, show them so they can read what I was asking. A lot of the places I went to eat, they didn't speak hardly any English. Most of the stuff, the menus are in English and in Japanese. So most of the time you can figure out what you're doing, what you're ordering. They understand basic things like I want a latte or a matcha latte or whatever. I recommend getting the Wagyu beef and the Kobe beef, even though it's very expensive. I do recommend getting that because you won't get any kind of beef like that here in the United States, or very difficult to get here and I got it twice. It was like 70 bucks. I think I spent on dinner one night for 2 skewers, one of Kobe beef, one of Wagyu beef. And then I got it for lunch one day. Highly recommended that if you're in Japan, get that. So this was another one on the Days of Delight that I wanted to get. So I picked these up. These I bought, they were all new, and they were all around like maybe $16 to $18. I've seen them, a couple of those on Amazon or on eBay, and they usually go for 30 bucks plus shipping. So I wanted to pick up as many of those as I could. I did pick up the Nankai Trio CD. They were all out. I didn't see any vinyls anywhere of these. But this is a really cool kind of fusion album that I've been wanting to pick up. So I did pick this up while I was over there as well. Let's see. I got a few more I can show you. I picked up some older ones like this Taru's Mood, Teramasa Hino. I picked this up used. So I picked up some kind of the older J Jazz. I picked up Tsuyoshi Yamamoto live at Body and Soul. I did have an opportunity to go to Body and Soul and see a show. Tamiko, what was her last name? Anyway, she's a wonderful pianist, and her band was fantastic. The drummer was just smoking, and the Body and Soul, from what I understand, moved a few years ago to another location. So it's not the same that if you buy older recordings, it was a different location, but it's a really cool place to see a show. Not a bad seat in the house. And they put on a great show. She was just very energetic, and the drummer was fantastic. So I was really excited to see a show there. What else did I get? Masabumi Kikuchi Sextet Reconfirmation. I picked this up. UCD. They have a lot of UCDs, like thousands of UCDs. And the CDs were very fair priced for used CDs. They were like between $4 to $10 or $12, depending on what they were. But most of them were in like the $5, $6, $7 range. Some of them $4. I picked up the Teramusu Hino here, which was a really cool one that's got Jack DeJohnette on it, Ron Carter, and it's got Sir Roland Hanna on there. And I had not seen this one before, so I picked this up on CD. I picked up another Tsuyoshi Yamamoto, Blues for Tea. Picked this up used. I picked up Gentle Blues, which was a Venus, Tsuyoshi Yamamoto, which is not easy to find. I picked this up on CD, and I do kind of like these vinyl cover type CDs. And again, the Venus, they do a great job of their mastering, and even on their CDs, they sound pretty good. So I picked up also a Takio Moriyama, the Yusuke Yamashita Trio. This is another one of those with Takio Moriyama on it, and this is one of his earlier releases, and I picked this one up, I think, used as well. So that was another cool one. I picked up a few others I'll show you. Charles Lloyd album that I didn't have. I picked this one up. I'm a big Charles Lloyd fan. I picked up Mal Waldron Trio. And again, a lot of these are HQ CDs. They do a great job of mastering them. This is a SHM CD. This Jackie McLean, Jackie's Bag. A lot of these were used that I picked up, and they were like $5. So I couldn't resist. I was in there. At one point, I was in, I think I got these at a Disc Union. And it was all used CDs and new CDs. And it was a mixture. It had all the genres, but like 3 rows were nothing but jazz, like from top to bottom. I was in there for about like 2.5 hours, and I had a stack like this. So I had to keep putting them back and figuring out which ones I was going to get. And again, when they're like $4 or $5 a piece, it's kind of hard to resist. I picked up this Ron Carter album that I didn't have. It was like $4. I picked that up. Eric Alexander, I picked this one up. One for All, or he's on there, this band. Before I found that vinyl record, I also picked up the Art Farmer to Duke with Love, the East Wind CD series, which seemed to be pretty good. So now I have it on CD and vinyl. And I also did the same thing with the Barry Harris Workshop, HQ CD of the Art. I'm a huge Art Pepper fan. I love Art Pepper. I have probably 40 CDs of his and probably 40 or 50 vinyl records of his. He's one of my favorite alto players, and this album I did not have, so I picked that up. Leeway I picked up on the these vinyl replicas or whatever you want to call them. Phineas Newborn. Again, these were like all $4, so they were kind of hard to pass up. Vladimir Shafronov. There was some of those. I really was excited to have the opportunity to meet Vladimir in person. Of course, if you guys have been following the channel, you know that I've interviewed him probably more than anybody else on the channel. And so when we get on and talk, we talk for 3 hours, 4 hours sometimes. And a lot of times I'll put the full interview up, and then sometimes I'll cut them up and put them according to topic, and kind of for those of you that don't want to sit through a 4-hour conversation. But the reason why I went over when I went over was because he was going to be there. He's going to be there playing, and he was going to be there recording. And so I got to meet him over there in Tokyo, and we went out and got food, and his daughter was there. And then I got to go, of course, into the recording studio, and that was just a wonderful experience. And I got to go upstairs where they were cutting direct to lacquer. And so these guys talk about great players. And there's a certain level of players that you see playing. These guys were phenomenal. There was a trio, him and a bass player and a drummer, 2 Japanese guys that played with him. They toured with him around Japan and then went into the recording studio. These guys were flawless. I think they recorded 10 or 12 tunes in the studio, and basically they get the lacquer lined up, they check everything, they drop it on the lacquer, they tell them to go ahead and record, and bam, they record it. And they improvised on the fly. You could see Vladimir look over, tell the bass player, here comes your solo. These guys were flawless. They played the tune straight through, went right down the lacquer. They stopped, pulled the lacquer off, got the next one ready, recorded another tune, and these guys did like 12 tunes in a row that were just flawless and just unbelievable playing. So that was a unique experience for me. And to see that kind of a level of players, Vladimir's an incredible pianist. I don't think I've ever seen a better piano player in person play. I got to see him at Swing Ginza Club on the last night that I was there. And when I got there, they seated me in the back, and I was kind of a bit upset. And after the first set, I asked the waiter, I was like, is there any way you can move me up? Some people got up and left after the first set. And so he actually sat me right behind Vladimir's bench. So when Vladimir came back from the first set, he kind of walked up and was startled. He was like, oh, there you are. And so I was like, basically he was like seated right in front of me, his back, and I was right there next to him. So that was a really cool, and I snuck a little video in and took a couple pictures, which you're not supposed to do, but I couldn't resist. And again, talk about just a high level of playing. These guys were just fantastic. So when you see players like that, I play guitar and do kind of acoustic trio thing here. And it's like I'm done playing out. Like when you see people that are that good, and it's just kind of like I kind of get jaded. It's like, why am I playing an instrument when you see people that are this good? Anyway, so I picked up a couple of Vladimir Shafronov CDs. I picked this one up. I did not have. I picked up this one here called New York Revisited, and I picked up this called Move In. And these are great trio albums, straight ahead jazz, but wonderful playing. So I was glad to be able to pick those up. Those are kind of expensive. If you go on eBay, those are really difficult to find, those used CDs. So that's a majority of the stuff that I got for CDs and vinyl records. And I got to see a total of 5 live shows. And it was a really cool experience. The Jazz Keeses, I only touched the surface. I went to like 4 of them. One bad thing was I was sick the whole first week I was there. And so I didn't stay out as long as I wanted to stay out. And so I was, runny nose and coughing, and it kept getting worse. And so I would go out during the day. I'd go to like a jazz cafe, or I'd get food, and I'd go to a record store or something. And then I would come back like in the early evening. And then for like that first week, I didn't go out hardly any like late nights, because I was just exhausted, and I didn't want to get pneumonia. I was like really worried about being in Tokyo and like having pneumonia. And so I kind of took it easy the first week. The second week I started getting over it. And so the second week I started feeling better, and I kind of got a bunch of shows in that second week. So that was kind of a bummer being sick over there. But 2 weeks, I was able to see a lot. And again, the record stores were incredible. I do recommend, again, making a list, a spreadsheet, or I have mine on Word with the address so that you can cut and paste it into your phone. You have to have a phone to get around. It makes it very easy. Again, with the phone, you can find out where you're going very easy, and you can pay for your train. You scan your phone with that Suica app on the phone. You just go through the turnstile, you swipe your phone, and then you take whatever train, whether it's one train or you get off and change at a station and go to another train, a subway, what have you. When you swipe off on the turnstile at your last stop, it deducts it right off your phone. It tells you, minus 600 yen or 300 yen or whatever it is, and it takes off your total, and you can easily replenish that on your iPhone wallet. I don't know how it works with an Android or something like that, but with the iPhone, it worked very well. So, and then I had a travel card that I had loaded on there in my wallet, and I used that like 90% of the time, so that you can get the extra miles on the travel card. So I do recommend doing that if you're going to travel to somewhere like that. Get a travel card where you can get points. I have one of the travel cards where if you spend so much money, you get like 80,000 points, which is enough for hotels or airfares or whatever. So that's kind of a smart way to get some freebies. And again, you can load it on your wallet on your phone. So when you do Apple Pay, it takes it right off. The 7-Elevens there, you can get a lot of different things. Like at night when I would go back to the hotel, I would get some tea and water from the 7-Elevens. They got little snacks there and things like that. As far as restaurants go, they're all different and how you order. So some of them you go in, they'll take your order. Some of them you go in, you'll have a screen in front of you, select English, and you go through and you order, and it puts your order in and they bring it. And then you pay for it up front. Some of them you pay for it through the actual screen. And there were a lot of different variations of that. So sometimes it was kind of confusing trying to figure out where you're supposed to pay. And again, sometimes they don't speak English. So you end up figuring it out. So it's not too bad. I do recommend getting sushi over there. Great sushi. The fish market in Tokyo near the Ginza district is well worth going over. I went over there, I think three different times, a couple times in the morning. The morning's probably the best time to go over there, early afternoon. But the fish market has all fresh fish, and it's all laid out. It's all caught. You have all kinds of sushi, and you do have some of the beef there, the Wagyu beef and things like that. And also souvenir shops and things like that you can pick stuff up at. So other than that, I'm trying to think of what else was significant about the trip. Haneda Airport. I recommend flying into Haneda Airport, not the other one. The other one's bigger, but it's further out away. I will recommend getting a van from the airport to your hotel with your luggage and going from your hotel back to the airport. It was like, I think I paid $70 going from the airport to my hotel. And I think I did Uber on the way back. Now you can use Uber in Tokyo. Just pull up your app. It's very simple. I used Uber, and then a van came and got me at the hotel and took me over back to the airport. I think it was like $58. So it's not cheap, but it beats trying to lug your luggage and crap, especially if you have two carry-ons and your main luggage. You don't want to mess with that, getting on those subways, and you can do it, but it's going to suck. So for me, it was worth $50 not to have the hassle. So I do recommend taking a taxi or some kind of shuttle or whatever from the airport to the hotel and from the hotel back. just makes it easier. And especially when you're carrying a heavy clamshell thing like I had full of records and CDs, I didn't want to lug that thing through. And then, sometimes those subways can get very packed depending on what time of the day it is. And it's just kind of miserable if you've got a bunch of stuff you're carrying. As far as just taking the trains and things like that, it's pretty self-explanatory. And actually, by the time at the end of the 2 weeks, I knew a lot of the different lines where they went, and I didn't even have to look at my phone. I just knew to get on at this one, get off at Ginza, get on at this one, and I was able to find my way around pretty easy. The only time it does get confusing is if you get on certain tracks where there's more than one train that comes through that station. One will come through. It might be an express train that doesn't stop at every stop. And if you're not paying attention to what time your train's coming in on, you can get on the wrong one. I almost did that once. They're only like 4 or 5 minutes apart, 4 minutes apart between the two trains. So they're right on time. But this one came in, it was like, I don't know, 2:54, but my train was coming in at 2:58. So when that one came in, I was like, oh, here it is. I get on. And when I looked up at the screen, I noticed that something didn't look right. Like all the stops weren't there. So I got back off. And you don't have much time it's like 30 seconds, maybe, I think, from the time the doors open to people get on, they get off, you get on. But that's the only time it would kind of got confusing was when there was another train coming on the same track and they were within a few minutes of each other. You have to pay attention on the sign as to which one, or when they announce it. And because some of them actually go different direction, they'll go off and go one way, and then your train will be going straight or whatever. So that's about the only time it gets confusing. Everything else, you're on one side of the track to go one direction, the other side of the track to go the other direction. And when you use the different lines a few times, you figure out which way you're going. So you can figure it out. So other than that, do you guys have any questions before I go? I just wanted to kind of give you guys a rundown and tell you a little bit about the trip. I got a lot of reviews coming up, and hopefully on the Bird Box stuff, for those of you guys that have purchased the Bird Box, pre-purchased those, next week they're coming in. The Livia Scarlatti albums are coming in. I'll be shipping those out to you guys, and the other two are coming in behind those the week after. So I'll be getting all those records out to you guys. And then I'll be announcing when I get those Japanese imports in the store. There'll be a separate section on my website that'll have all those in it. And I'll be getting a few titles of some different ones. So, yeah, when am I heading back? I want to go back next year. So I wouldn't mind going back maybe a little bit later, like, a month later, like maybe April, I think would be a nice time to go over there. So you can see all the different cherry blossoms blooming and things like that. But the weather wasn't too bad. The weather was in like the 40s, 50s, got up to almost 70 one day. There was rain a couple of times. I will recommend getting a good rain jacket so that you don't have to carry an umbrella around. They're carrying umbrellas all over the place. It was pokey in the eye with them. They're a lot shorter than I am. So the umbrellas are like at eye level. And but anyway, I had a good rain jacket both jackets I had a thin jacket, kind of a thin rain jacket that I wore half the time. And the other time was a heavier jacket with a hood that was waterproof. So if you go when it's a little colder, you definitely want to have that. But I'd like to go next year, like, in April or something. I think would be a good time to go. We'll see what happens, if there's anything left of the world, or what's going to happen with all this nonsense going on with Iran and Ukraine and all this other crap. So I have no idea what this is going to leave us with, how much expensive everything is going to be. Who knows? But I want to go back next year. We'll see. Anything else? What did you pick up? Any while you were over there? What did you pick up at your vinyl? Did you any kind of I forgot, I'm terrible at names. So but what were some of the albums you picked up? You picked up a lot of vinyl records, right? You went around to the different record stores. Anything significant you picked up there that you want to share? 22 records, yeah. Paul, Okay, yeah, I'm terrible. Sorry at names. You picked up 22 albums. Were they mostly used or new? Well, I think maybe I had about a third of mine are new, and about the rest of them were used. So it's definitely overwhelming the amount of records. It's where you kind of just started, going numb looking through them all. And there were so many that I wanted, especially new, used. You got used mostly. Yeah, that's their prices on used records. I thought were very fairly priced. And one thing I like about their grading, they don't mess around with the grading. If they say it's a B plus, it's their stuff's usually graded fair. Not like in the US where people are putting near mint and very good plus and they got scratches all over them and stuff. You don't find that with the Japanese. And even when I order online from some of the different online eBay stores in Japan and they grade them, what they're graded is what they are. I don't think I've had any eBay purchases from Japan that I've ever had to send back or complain about, unlike stuff I purchased here in the US where I've gotten, this is supposed to be very good plus, and it's just scratches and pops and stuff. And you just don't have that. Yamamoto Blues on Phillips. Yeah, there's still a lot. One that I'm ordering, Yamamoto, live at Body and Soul. I reviewed this not long ago. This is the SACD, which sounds fantastic, but this is coming out on vinyl. They're just coming out on vinyl now, so I'm going to be getting these on my Disc Union order. I'll have some of these in stock on my website. The vinyls, both Volume 1, Volume 2. This is the complete edition on SACD, but the vinyls are going to be two different. I think they're two double vinyl records. So they're quite expensive, but I think I'm going to get a few in to sell on the website. So keep an eye out if you want this. I'll have this available on vinyl hopefully in the next few weeks. Mal Waldron. Oh, really? You got 3 Victor pressings on Prestige? Yeah, I like Mal Waldron too. So yeah, there's just so much. It was truly overwhelming, and that was just me looking at primarily jazz. I picked up a Jeff Beck live album, Japanese pressing with the OB strip, and I picked up what else? I picked up one other thing that wasn't a Rory Gallagher CD, live CD, and then I picked up what did I pick up? I picked up one other rock album. I don't remember what it is. Oh, I picked up a Mike Oldfield record, Japanese pressing called Islands. Other than that, it was all jazz. If I would have started looking at rock music and other stuff, I went into the progressive rock Disc Union store, and that I started to get kind of yes, Hal's. Yep, I went into Hal's. I don't think I got anything in Hal's in Shibuya, but I did go in there. I went in Manhattan Records. I don't think I bought anything in Manhattan Records either. Where else did I go? There were a few of the small shops that I went to. There was another used record store. Man, where was it at? It was all used records, and they were kind of rare records. I don't remember the name of it now. Okay, you got 5 there at that one at Hal's. Yeah. There was just so much. And then, again, the first week I was sick. So once I was in like one record store for like 2 hours, I started getting kind of like, all right, I've had enough for the day. And so I would walk and hit another record store, because a lot of those record stores in Shibuya and in Shinjuku are kind of close together. So like in Shibuya, there's probably 20 something record stores there. And in Shinjuku, there's like 20 or 30. So I didn't even hit nearly all those. I think I went maybe 12 or 15 record stores while I was there. And so it's infinite. There's just so much, and the record stores are huge. And so my favorites, for again new records, if you're looking for new Japanese jazz or whatever, or new records, Tower Records was very good, and Disc Union, their stores were very good for new stuff, even though they had a great used selection too, at Tower and at Disc Union, and a ton of CDs too. So for those of you guys that like CDs, again, the used CDs were just great. They were priced very fair, and I didn't expect to buy that many CDs, and I bought like 30. So and I wasn't planning on that. It's just kind of how it ended up. And again, a lot of those Days of Delight ones that I wanted, they're not available on vinyl. So there was a lot of those, and they would have been too expensive. They're like 30 something bucks plus shipping to get from here. And there they were like $18 for the CD. So just kind of made sense for me to get those. Disc Union. Yeah. I went to that one too. I went to a lot of Disc Unions. The Disc Unions are scattered all over. So, there's some in Shibuya, there's some in Shinjuku, there's some in other areas like that one. What's it called? Kijioji or whatever it was. Yeah, they're all over the place. And they all have a lot of, again, you can spend hours in these places. And if you're going to buy more than one genre, I think you're going to end up having to get like a big suitcase. You can get where you can check on an extra suitcase, because if it goes over 50 pounds, they charge you extra. On mine, I could have checked another bag, but again, I planned on that clamshell for a couple of reasons. I didn't want to go too crazy. Yeah, wasn't that Okonomitsu one? That was the jazz location, I think. Paul, I think that was the jazz and the rhythm and blues location, I think, if I remember correctly. I get all the names confused. But that one had all jazz, and then had a side room that had blues and rhythm and blues. And yeah, I went in there 2 times. So I was in there 2 different days. The guy at the counter saw me, and I was like, yeah, I'm spending too much money. And that's when I went in there looking for the vinyl record of this. And the guy told me, he's like, no, he came and played in the store, the Disc Union store, and he goes, they sold all the records. And then when I went to the Disc Union guy that I have the connection with now, I asked him if I can get these on vinyl. He said he didn't have them in stock. So I don't know if those are going to be available or not. So if they do come available, I want to order several of those, and I'll put them on my website for you guys. So other than that, fantastic. The Jazz Kisses were wonderful. I went to like 5 of those. Really nice sound systems. Very enjoyable. Get your coffee and sit down and spend an hour in there. And again, I got to hear a cool album, that J.R. Montrose album that I'd never heard of, and I ended up buying that on vinyl. So that was kind of cool. So it's well worth going there especially if you love jazz. And then as far as the live stuff goes, I could have went to a show every night. If I wasn't sick that first week, I would have gotten in more live shows. And that's just jazz. There's probably 30 or 40 different bands, jazz bands playing somewhere, throughout the city at least. And then there's even some afternoon shows at some clubs. And then the prices now were a bit expensive. I guess if you're going to going to them every night, they were between 4,000 yen and maybe 6,000 yen. So for the door, something like that. So 5,000 yen's like around 35 bucks or something, maybe just under that. And then you're going to buy your 2 drinks, most of them 2 drink minimum or something. So you're going to spend 60, 70 bucks by the time all is said and done at each show. I didn't go to like some of the bigger ones, like the Blue Note or the Cotton Club, or those I wanted to get to. I just didn't have a chance to get to those. But the Pit Inn's worth going to. I really enjoyed that. The Body and Soul Club, Alfie was just a cool place, where I had met Paul, and wonderful trip. I would definitely want to go back. So if the world is still here as we know it next April, hopefully I will be going on another trip. And again, it wasn't that expensive. I did Priceline. I initially was going for 11 nights. I extended the trip a couple days because of Vladimir's recording studio thing. So I was going to leave on Tuesday, and instead I left on Thursday. So I extended 2 nights. So my initial plane ticket and my hotel was $1,587. That was for my round trip plane ticket and for the 11 nights in the hotel. And then I extended 2 nights. I think that cost me $140 for the 2 extra nights. And then I changed my plane ticket. That ended up costing me like another $150 to change my plane ticket. So I will recommend pay attention if you buy on Priceline, if you get the discounted ticket. Sometimes if you want to change your flight, they charge you extra, which I didn't pay close enough attention to. But at the end of the day, it was probably going to be a wash because it would have probably cost me more to get the other ticket. So anyway, you just want to pay attention when you're buying your package, what plane ticket you're getting. It's 14 hours for me from Houston to Tokyo. That was kind of grueling. Luckily, I was in front of a bulkhead, so I had a little more leg room. So that made it a little bit less painful. I have to get up every hour or so and walk, go to the bathroom because 14 hours is it's a bit much. On the way back, it was like a little over 10 hours and there was no one next to me. So that made it a lot better. And I was able to sleep a little bit. So the plane ride back 10 hours to Chicago wasn't quite so painful. So yeah, just a couple of tips there in case. But that's all I got for tonight. I appreciate you guys joining me, and it was good to talk to you again, Paul. I'm glad you had a good trip. And are you going to plan on going back again next year? Is that on your itinerary or on your? It's definitely on my. It's definitely well worth going. The food's fantastic. Next February, okay. Any reason or just kind of when you're going to go? Already booked. Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm definitely. I definitely want to go again. It's well worth saving up. If you're going for going to buy records and stuff like that, save up so that you can get what you want. And I recommend taking a bag that's empty or whatever that you can carry your stuff on. I did want to have the records with me, which is why I got that carry-on clamshell case because I didn't want them to be in a bag getting thrown. Even if they're well packed, I just didn't feel comfortable having them on the check-on baggage. Now, when I talked to Tony Higgins and Mike Peden, which I'm going to get them on here, hopefully again to talk about the trip because they went right before I went. If you guys watched the conversation I had with them about J-Jazz, they were talking about the whole bag and they checked, I think Mike said he checked his bag, had a bag that he checked on and he put his records in that. If they're well packed, they're probably fine. But for me, I just thought it would be easier just to have that carry-on clamshell, have the records in there. I had them in bags and they were packed with a little clothes around them. And so when I took them on the airplane, I was able to put it right in the overhead. They were right there with me. And it was a little heavy, but it's on wheels. So it's not that big of a deal. And that's kind of how I took mine. And again, using that app on the phone coming back through Chicago here, it was a piece of cake going through customs, just stamped it right through. So, yeah. Hard shell case that goes inside your other case. Yeah. That's a great, great thing to do. So you can pick up all the records. And then I kind of came to the conclusion that when that clamshell was full, that was enough. And that was about 30. This was like about 30 vinyl records, and that kind of filled it up. And then of course I had the CDs that I was able to put half of those in there, and the rest of them went in the check-on. CDs, no problem to put in the check-on bag. So, yeah, good trip overall, and a lot more places to see. I barely scratched the surface. Next time, hopefully I won't be sick and I'll be able to get out. My goal was to kind of get out. I think I saw 5 shows over the 13 nights I was there, which is not bad, but I wanted to kind of try to go every night to a different club and see different shows. So that's kind of my goal. And then a lot of the Jazz Keisas, I got to see a handful of them, but there was a lot that I did not even get to. So All right. Well, I appreciate you guys joining me. I'm going to sign off and stay tuned for record reviews coming next week. I got a lot of stuff here to review. I'll play for you guys, and I'll let you know when the Bird Box records get in. For those of you guys that purchased the Bird Box, I'll have some of those in stock. You guys pre-ordered some of those, but definitely want to check out the Bird Box records. If you guys haven't heard those, they're audiophile jazz records. So if you guys haven't checked those out, go to my Belissaria Sonic website and check out those. You can listen to song samples and things like that, and they're beautiful pressings. So, and then when the Japanese imports come in, I'll make a video about that and show you guys what I have in stock. And when I do the reviews, I'll put the link below, and you'll be able the few that I'm not probably only going to get maybe 3 or 4 copies of each of those initially, because it's kind of a big overhead upfront cost for the records. But as I go, I'll try to, add more in stock and have some in stock for you guys. So appreciate you guys supporting the channel and coming and saying hello. And it was great to see you again, Paul. And we will talk soon. Take care. Have a good weekend.